Move on to the next question, this one coming in from Henry. I am currently trying to figure out when exactly bin Laden died. I have read the conclusions of Dr. Steve Pieczenik that he already died in December 2001, claiming that the raid by Navy SEALs in May 2011 was a hoax that never happened. I came across a book called The Flight of OBL, published in May 2017, giving many details about Osama's women and children, their flight to Iran, which also sounded very interesting and revealing. The conclusions of observers like David Ray Griffin and Steve Pieczenik were based on the kidney failure of Osama that made it impossible to survive for so many years without proper treatment. So who is telling the truth, and what advice can you give me what I should publish in the book I am writing? Both visions without a definitive answer, perhaps. All right, thank you for the question. And yes, it's a very good question. You set it up well. There are certainly competing narratives about what did or did not happen in May 2011 and before then in regards to the life and or death of Osama bin Laden. And long story short, the first thing to say is we will probably never have the definitive answer on this. Just given the access or lack of access to direct evidence that the public has and was ever likely to have with regards to these details, I don't know if we'll ever have the definitive answer to this. But I stand by the assessment that I made at that time and continue to make to the present day, namely that the 2011 death of Osama bin Laden was not the first time that such a death had been announced, but the 9th. And there is no reason that we should take the 9th pronouncement any more seriously than we should take any of the preceding 8 announcements.
According to you and another number of analysts, bin Laden has been dead for quite some time already. If that were true, why would the U.S. wait till now to announce his death?
Well, first, let me correct you. I'm not in New York. I'm actually in Japan. But it's not my contention that Osama bin Laden definitively has been dead for some time, but that his death has been announced a number of times at any rate, and I don't see why we should take this pronouncement any more seriously than any of the previous pronouncements, especially considering the complete and utter lack of evidence that has so far been produced to show that Osama bin Laden or anyone resembling that description was actually killed yesterday. But I think it's important to understand the announcement that occurred yesterday not through the lens of the announcement of the death of some terrorist mastermind so much as the retirement party for a known CIA asset along the lines of Lee Harvey Oswald back in November 1963. And I think Lee Harvey Oswald is probably the best analog for Osama bin Laden as someone who did not have the means, motive, or opportunity to do what he allegedly did, not only killing President Kennedy, but also waltzing in and out of the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War after having been working at the top secret Atsugi Air Force Base with no questions asked, using money that he didn't have at the time. In the same way, we see Osama bin Laden being the rogue element of the bin Laden family of construction fortune, who, of course, has deep ties to the oligarchy of Texas and, of course, the Bush family. So we see Osama bin Laden, of course, having deep ties to the American intelligence establishment. So I see this more as a ploy of the CIA getting rid of one of their old assets, whether he actually did die yesterday or he's been dead for years or whatever the case may be. This is simply discarding a war on terror boogeyman who's no longer scaring the populace.
So for those who don't know the details about Osama bin Laden being pronounced dead for the 9th time in May 2011, I will include a report to my article at the time, Osama bin Laden pronounced dead for the 9th time, where the argument is, to be clear, I am not saying that as I have been misquoted, I think intentionally so, by some of my critics in the past, that that any of these previous declarations were definitive and that I believe he died in 2001 or I believe he didn't die at all. The point of that entire article is to say, look, here are all the documented times where various public officials have said definitively and or speculatively that Osama bin Laden's long dead, let's stop worrying about him. And this was just another one of those series of pronouncements as far as I was concerned at that time, given what we knew or didn't know more accurately about the details of that raid. So, I mean, for example, there was the December 2001 report, which even Fox News posted from the Pakistan Observer, saying that the Afghan Taliban had officially pronounced OBL dead. January 2002, Pakistani President Musharraf at that time said quite bluntly that I think now, frankly, he is dead. FBI counterterrorism chief in July 2002, Dale Watson said that he believed that bin Laden was dead. October 2002, Afghan President Hamid Karzai said that I would come to believe that bin Laden's probably dead. Over and over, these types of pronouncements have been made. And any one of them, certainly you could question. You could say, well, of course, Musharraf or Karzai would have an interest in saying that he's dead and gone and stop attacking our country. Osama bin Laden's gone. So, of course, they'd say that. And maybe that's true. Of course, they would say that. And were they working on definitive intel or just speculation? Or were they just trying to cover their own butts or whatever? Yeah, of course. But then all of those same questions, I think, can and should be applied in the case of what did or didn't happen in Abbottabad in 2011. So, of course, we now know, of course, it was a positive identification by DNA. I mean, you couldn't get better than that. This is absolute ironclad, bulletproof. How could this possibly be wrong? DNA evidence that Osama bin Laden was the person they killed, right? And we know this not from the CIA or from the Pentagon or from any direct source, because the AP did unsuccessfully try and sue for that information. They tried to FOIA it out, but the government said they wouldn't respond to any such request. Well, we found it in a roundabout way, as The Independent reported in 2013, August of 2013, leaked Snowden docs show for the first time that DNA test verified identity of Osama bin Laden's body. Quote, a secret laboratory ran DNA tests on Osama bin Laden's body after he was killed by a Navy SEALs commando team, classified U.S. defense documents leaked by Edward Snowden have revealed. The Pentagon has previously denied that it had any record of such tests and reportedly handled all its information on the bin Laden operation to the CIA, where they were less likely to be made visible to the public. But former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden has now gone to the press with secret budget files held by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which shows that forensic tests took place and provided a conclusive match on the terrorist's leader's identity. And skipping on in the article, the Associated Press said they had submitted Freedom of Information requests asking for these data the day after bin Laden was announced. Death was announced. But almost a year later, in March 2012, they were told the Pentagon could not locate any of the files. End quote. Well, there you go. Problem solved. This journalistic problem of, well, they say there's a DNA test, but we have no proof for it, and they won't give us any. But don't worry, Snowden's here with the documents. Look, in this budget for the Defense Intelligence Agency, this budget proves there was a DNA test, and it was a conclusive match. Well, what more evidence do we need, guys? I mean, certainly nothing that's in any way accessible, observable, or verifiable by the outside public. Certainly nothing open source. Just this, hey guys, here's a budget document that says we did a test and that it proved it was Osama. Well, case closed, right? And for anyone who wonders, how could it possibly be, James, that Snowden was a psyop? He must be pure as the driven snow. Well, again, regardless of whether he's aware of it or not, he could be passing on dupe information that's convenient for the people who are like, oh no, he's leaked all our secrets, like how we secretly tested the DNA of Osama bin Laden, right? Yeah, take that for what it's worth. But the most interesting aspect of the whole we tested his DNA cover story was the whole story about the fake vaccination drive that supposedly they ran in Abbottabad to try to get samples of the DNA so that they could match it before the raid took place. This whole story, which we can get from articles like this one from The Guardian in July 2011. CIA organized fake vaccination drive to get Osama bin Laden family DNA. Quote, the CIA organized a fake vaccination program in the town where it believed Osama bin Laden was hiding in an elaborate attempt to obtain DNA from the fugitive al-Qaeda leader's family, a Guardian investigation has found. As part of extensive preparations for the raid that killed bin Laden in May, CIA agents recruited a senior Pakistani doctor to organize the vaccine drive in Abbottabad, even starting the project in a poorer town to make it look more authentic, according to Pakistani and U.S. officials and local residents. The doctor, Shakil Afridi, has since been arrested by the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, the ISI, for cooperating with American intelligence agents, end quote. So, you'll note, a couple of things about that story, one of which is they don't even say this was, that they collected Osama bin Laden's DNA as a baseline comparison that they could compare the corpse to. No, it was bin Laden's family. So, even if we were to take this whole story hook, line, and sinker, and, well, they say it's true, so I guess it is, even if that is all true, then still, they were collecting Osama bin Laden family DNA, so people who were related to him, perhaps his children. But that doesn't mean that they got Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad. It just means that, look, we've got our DNA. Anyway, again, take this story for what it's worth, but the interesting side effect to all of this was revealed in the National Geographic a couple of years later, in 2015. He led the CIA to bin Laden and unwittingly fueled a vaccine backlash. Quote, Pakistani doctors' role in health campaigns sparked local suspicions that efforts to fight polio were part of a Western plot. The exposure of the CIA's role in the vaccination effort landed Afridi in a Pakistani prison and, health officials say, became a major setback in the efforts to vaccinate Pakistanis against another highly contagious disease, polio. Concerted vaccination efforts had come close to eliminating the crippling virus in the early 2000s, but it had flared up again in 2012 in the cities of Karachi and Peshawar and in the tribal belt along the Afghan border, end quote. So, the narrative ultimately becomes all of this. Yes, okay, we staged this fake vaccination drive as part of this elaborate plot, but you stupid, silly Pakistani, you backward Pakistanis believing that vaccination is some plot to get you. I mean, come on, yeah, we're staging things and setting things up and using it to get your DNA, but don't worry, just shut up and take your shots, right? I mean, again, even if you take all of this just at face value, the narrative is ridiculous and incredible, but there it is. So anyway, that was just an interesting whole sidebar to this entire story, which again, definitively concluded by this leaked budget, which shows that they really did a DNA test and it proved conclusively. All right. But having said that, I mean, even some of the alternative theories that have been offered up as to what did or didn't take place in Abbottabad, I am equally skeptical about, including, of course, the report from Seymour Hersh back in the London Review of Books back in 2015. Again, he came out with The Killing of Osama bin Laden. The inside story, the dirty details of what really did happen, and it's this elaborate plot, which, yes, they really did get him in Abbottabad, and it really was a Navy SEAL raid, and they really did kill him, but the rest is kind of, political intrigue and lies and things like that, and cover-up and what have you. So, yes, it really did happen, and it really was, but there's some other things, and that's why they can't give you the truth about it. According to Seymour Hersh's inside retired military official sources, which I'm not even sure why we should take them seriously, even if we did believe they were trying to tell the truth, because why do we think they are definitively in on what did or didn't happen in Abbottabad? But Hersh always seems to have these inside sources who are believed unquestioningly, and I question. So I don't necessarily, I certainly don't take that account as definitive, and I don't think anyone should, but I'll throw in the link so you can read it through for yourself, The Killing of Osama bin Laden. So fundamentally, I remain open-minded as to this question of when did Osama bin Laden die? I mean, I don't think anyone that I know of, although it is sometimes claimed as a sort of straw man, these crazy conspiracy theorists think Osama is still alive. No, I don't believe that. I don't know anyone who does. The only question is, when did he die? And I think it's most likely he died before May of 2011. I remain open-minded as to the fundamental, final, conclusive evidence of this, but the point is, give me evidence. If you have a theory, if you think that he died in May 2011, or you think he died in December 2001, give me something definitive. Give me evidence. Give me something to go on. That is the decision, the basis for a decision, and it always should be. A point that I've been making since the time that this took place itself.
You're not making any sense, Russ. You say, I don't buy it, but I'll put up a bet. Okay, you put up a bet. But what's that going to prove? You have nothing to back up your bet with.
Time out. I say Obama did it.
Obama did what?
I say that Obama's...
Okay, I'll make a bet that Obama didn't do it. If we go by the original story, the Navy SEALs did it, and Obama didn't do a damn thing. Just sat back and said, okay, I'm going to take the credit for it.
That may be.
Gosh.
But the fellow that you have on is giving all of these other possible options.
No, he's not. He's giving what has been reported.
Can I step in for a second? Please.
I don't mind.
I think
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, because I'm not saying that he died in 2001 or he died in 2011. I'm saying I don't know, and I'm looking for the proof. So if you have the proof, please provide it to me. I'm thirsting for it. I'm hungering for the proof. Just give it to me. Lay it on me.
No.
No, I can't provide it.
Time out. There's no point in yelling. Time out.
Nobody's yelling. We're wondering where you're quiet. It's very quiet. We were waiting for you to say something, Rusty.
That's about it, isn't it? Give me the evidence. No. I don't know. Maybe Rusty does work for the U.S. government. But anyway, I'll throw in the link to that full conversation so you can go listen to it in context, where I think it's even funnier. But that's where it comes down to. Show me the evidence. That's what it's always about. And I don't think we have it in this case. So anyway, I'll let you peruse the various links that I've pointed out here and come to your own conclusions. I'll also throw in a link to the Osama deception, which I made shortly after the news came out, trying to throw some of this information together and throw some questions about what really happened in 2011 and before then. I think that the best evidence would be that he died at some point before 2011, but as I say, I remain open-minded.